Up over the top of Hippies. The magnificent Monaro leading the field around at the moment. The Sandown 500. 95 laps completed. Tony Quinn is your race leader. Anthony Tratt in second. Matthew Coleman third. John Bowe sitting right behind him in fourth position.
Yeah, following the Monaro safety car now. And John Smith in the QB Porsche, car number 8. Behind the wheel of a car that's been plagued with problems right through this race. Darcy Russell also back out of the pit garages and on the racetrack in the awesome Chrysler Viper. Just a shame, Colin, we don't get to actually see this car running at the front of the field this weekend, because Jeff Morgan has had a great year so far in Nations Cup, a number of race wins, and the fans just love it, don't they? V10, 8 litres, full of testosterone.
Absolutely, it is a spectacular motor car, and it's a shame that Jeff wasn't here. I really think that he would have been able to take it up to the other guys.
Down in pit lane, here's Ali.
Craig, with me now, Paul Cruikshank actually just interrupting a Red Army conference here in light of the safety car. Still talking with John Bowe at the moment. Paul, can you let us in on just how fortunate this safety car is for John Bowe?
Maybe okay. We've got to get a couple more laps, and then we can go through then. So we're just making a decision if we come in or not. So because we're still 1.5 laps or 2 laps down, so we need to plug that back. So yeah, can I get back to you in a minute? It's pretty busy here.
No worry, we'll leave you to it. Thanks, Paul.
So this is the Brad Jones Algardri car back in the pits as well. So lights are out on the safety car. We're also just about to have a restart. There's the Pilates car in pit lane now.
Battered and bruised. Not looking all that well. Gee, they've had a torrid old time with that one. Safety car now in, and also John Bowe coming into pit lane as well.
Yeah, under green, so they're away. And it's Tony Quinn. Peter Fitzgerald, of course, is behind him on the road, but running 2 laps down. But Anthony Tratt, lights on in the Crazy John's Lamborghini. He's the man that's second on the road. And now can he put pressure on Tony Quinn for the race lead?
Well, he's got some traffic between him. Of course, Matty Coleman sitting there, lap down, as we watch John Bowe in the pits getting some fuel.
Ali, what's happening?
Well, John frantically telling us to get out of his way because he thinks this pit stop's going to be pretty quick, and he's spot on there. That was a good 13 seconds.
He almost ran over his team manager there.
Yeah,
Great.
in fact, it's surprising, Colin. They actually left it probably a lap too late to call the pit stop. He should have perhaps pitted a lap earlier, and he would have got an advantage of the safety car more.
Well, yeah, and I can just see one of my cars looking as though it's looking pretty second-hand.
Looks like
back of the circuit there as well.
It's lost a right-hand rear wheel. Was that what you saw?
Looks terribly like it's trying to be a Morgan at the moment.
So Tony Quinn from Queensland. Very, very fast driver in this car at Nations Cup, and been an extremely successful competitor too in Targa Tasmania. Second to Jimmy Richards the year before last, and was running second on the road today, but this year I should say, but unfortunately, in fact, the safety car's been recalled. So we've had half a lap, and it's due to your car, Colin Osborne. So whoever did up the right-hand rear corner, I'd say it's the unemployment line Monday morning. What do you reckon?
Well, that's the left-hand rear.
Left-hand rear, sorry.
Craig, but we'll need to obviously see what's happened there. It's hard to tell whether the studs have sheared or what, but it's certainly that is not a part of the car that's been touched during the course of the event.
Stephen Drake sitting in the car at the moment. You can see him, he's going absolutely nowhere and quite frustrated by the way he's looking around, waiting for somebody to come out there and give him a hand. Tow truck just arriving there now. The second safety car in a matter of moments.
Now let's have a look and see if we can pick up what actually happened bottom right-hand corner, and you can just see the wheel departing the car. So unfortunately for your Toyota MR2, car 31, brand new car for your team too, this one, isn't it, Colin?
Yeah, we only took delivery of it last weekend, and to be honest, you know, we really haven't had the time to prep the car and check that it was exactly as it would be to our team's specifications, unfortunately.
Yes, it's amazing what happens under the safety car periods in terms of race strategy. You can plan as much as you like. You can have detailed notes on every sort of scenario, but
then you can tear it up.
When the safety car comes into play, weather comes into play, all that really goes out the window. And of course, you sit down and you really just, you know, understand what your fuel consumption is, litres per lap, so you can get your fuel windows right, your driver change windows right. No driver can do more than 2/3 the race distance in this race, so it is a compulsory driver change.
Some credit where credit is due, and this car that we're on board with at the moment, being driven by Tony Quinn, After the safety car came out, Tony really put the power down very well. He drove within the car's limitations, and Matt Coleman, who's sitting right behind him on the track, be it in third position, who is a very accomplished race car driver, has got a great deal of skill, had a bit of trouble keeping onto the tail of Tony Quinn, so hats off to Tony. That was a great effort.
Oh, yeah, Tony's a good driver. In fact, he's come along leaps and bounds this year, 45 years of age. Used to race Formula Ford when he was in Scotland, living over there before he moved to New Zealand, then came to Perth, then moved to the Gold Coast. As we look at the Drake Dunkley Car 31 MR2 being brought back by the tow crew. But yeah, Jimmy Richards has done a tremendous job. So, you know, in tutoring Tony Quinn, they've made absolutely no setup changes to the car. The only real difference between Jimmy's car and Quinny's car this weekend is the fact that Quinny's racing on Michelin tyres and Jimmy for this year has been running on Pirelli.
Tony Quinn celebrating being an Australian for 1 year now under citizenship rules.
And his son Clark also racing this weekend too in the Honda Integra Type R. Doing a great job, was leading his class earlier. So good to see the Quinn family well represented.
Oh, lights out on the safety car. We're about to go green. You can see Anthony Tratt is very keen.
Anthony Tratt has got one car between him and the race lead. Currently held by Tony Quinn. You can see now the black Lamborghini with the lights on. The Devil, the Diablo, down hard on the brakes under Holden Bridge, down into turn one. He's now on the tail of the VIP Fetch Foods Porsche. This could well be a very, very interesting couple of laps.
Tony Quinn taking it down through Holden. Tratt running just a little bit wide, but no ill effect. Coleman up the inside of him as they go down through turn two. Side by side still.
Team tactics coming into play here, no question about that. Porsche want to win, so even though Coleman is 2 laps down, he's going to make it as hard as he possibly can for Anthony Tratt. 100 laps gone in the Pool Right Sandown 500 here at Sandown International Raceway.
The Viper in amongst that sandwich too. There he goes, Darcy Russell coming up the back straight. Puts pave to Matthew Coleman's chances of having another go back at Anthony Tratt this time around.
Yeah, problems for Scotty Shearman in car 17, a black flag for jumping the start. So another roll-through penalty in pit lane for Scott Shearman and the car that he's, of course, sharing with the earlier pole sitter today, Sammy Newman.
Or Darcy Russell not having much luck. They got the car back out onto the track, and this is his first chance at having a real go at the, see what the Viper can do.
Yeah, come on, Darcy, give it heaps. Let's see what it can really do. Darren Palmer, the co-driver, in the V10 8-litre car, which, of course, is now going to be sold in Australia by Chrysler. In fact, September this month, they go on sale. 2 models brought into Australia, and 5 nominated Chrysler Viper dealers have been appointed around Australia.
Just listen to the sound of this machine.
V10. 8 litres, 6-speed Hollinger sequential gearbox, huge brakes. Hard on the brakes here. Now he gasses it up onto the back straight here at Sandown. Let's listen to the awesome sound of this V10 8-litre. Darcy Russell. I was about to say, what an awesome machine. And then the camera turned on Darcy. What an awesome fellow.
He loves his racing. I remember when they first thought about running a Viper here in Australia, Darcy, a few years ago at the Australian Formula One Grand Prix, I bumped into him. He said, guess what we're doing? We're bringing a Viper in. I can't wait. It's going to be terrific. He loves the cars. He thinks they're unbelievable machines, although under braking after a couple of laps, they do start to struggle a bit.
Let's have a look at the race score. Of course, Tony Quinn continuing to lead in the VIP Pet Foods Porsche from Paul Stogan Lamborghini, then the Fitzgerald Coleman Porsche. John Bow back there in 4th spot in the Ferrari from John Tulin. Sam Newman, Scott Shearman, 6th outright, but of course that drive-through penalty to come. Donny Pulver, first of the GT Performance cars from Alexander, King, Young, Al Gadri, then the Peters Denyer Dean Subaru. Good drive too for Trevor Haynes. Here's the stop-go penalty for Scott Shearman. First of the production cars, of course, still the Honda S2000 being driven by James Phillip. So a good drive for Phillip in his first comeback drive in GTP for some years.
Very frustrating time to have to come in and do a stop-go penalty, but he's back out on the track now as we watch Matthew Coleman making his way up towards the Hippies Hill.
Folks, this is the battle. It's the race lead, the Pool Right Sandown 500. And it's Tony Quinn and Anthony Tratt, Porsche and Lamborghini, and they're down to 1 second. So Tratt, in just 2 laps, has picked up 2 seconds on Tony Quinn. And last time around was, in fact, 1.2 tenths of a second quicker than Quinn.
You're on board with Anthony Tratt as Quinn just gets a wheel out onto the dirt, starts the run down the hill towards Dandenong, using the ripple strip as much as he can. Tratt turns the car in. Look at the view back. That's exactly what Tony Quinn will be seeing in the revision mirror at the moment. A monster, a beast of a car, quite literally, in the Lamborghini Diablo.
Yeah, riding with Tony Quinn now. You can see Tratt again closes up under brakes, but wait till we get on the straight. The Peter Brock straight here at Sandown. This is the point of the track now that it will make the difference. You'll see V12 versus flat 6-cylinder boxer engine down the main straight. The Lamborghini will start to close. Will he do it? Be able to do it before they get to turn 1? I don't think so, but now he's right up behind the VIP Pet Foods car.
I think I can. Tony Quinn brings it out of turn 1. Tratt just getting a little bit loose there. The exit of turn 1 up onto the ripple strip. Power on hard. Back wanted to dance away on him.
Yeah, a lot of pressure now on Tony Quinn.
Now Tratt gets another chance. This long back straight of Nations Cup straight up towards the top of Hippies. But Quinn wasted no time and got out of there very cleanly, considering the amount of pressure he's under, Craig.
Yeah, V12 versus 6-cylinder, 6-speed versus 5-speed. And again, John Bowe.
For third position too, up against Matty Coleman.
The Budweiser Ferrari, yeah, so the battle is still on for the podiums well and truly, even though we're 107 laps down of this 161-lap race. We'll keep our eye on the Quinn Tratt battle at the front of the field. Coleman, Bowe, Morris, still pretty much the top 5. Plenty of different manufacturers in there too.
Oh, big go down the inside.
Dive down the inside of Fitzgerald, runs wide. Fitzgerald comes back. In fact, it's Coleman behind the wheel. Comes back in car number 3.
The young versus the more experienced. I was going to say old, but then might get into trouble for that. There goes Bowe down the inside.
Seizes an opportunity. It does the same thing. Whoa, the back steps out on Coleman's car. Now it's a drag race down the main straight, side by side. And frankly, I think you'll find the Porsche will have the legs down here.
Is this a 5-lap sprint or a 500-kilometre endurance race?
And there's a great example, even though the Porsche is only carrying 380 horsepower. In fact, the Ferrari, because it runs the FIA Group End restrictor, it actually runs out of puff, and you can see that the Porsche could actually pull away from it. But this is where it closes up. Closes up the tight, twisty bits of the track, hard on brakes. Bowe thinks about a run down the inside, no, stays there. And again, you'll probably find that Coleman will pull away up the back straight. Now over the top end of the track, as they head down towards Dandenong Road corner, that's where the Ferrari is really quick.
And don't forget, we've seen Bowe overtake a couple of cars in the final couple of turns coming onto the main straight a couple of times. Here's our race leader.
Battles for first and second, battles for second and third. This is fabulous, folks. Absolutely great racing. Tony Quinn continuing to hold out Anthony Tratt. Now Tratt, in fact, Quinn's gone to the pits, so Tratt goes through. Tony Quinn is elected to make a pit stop in car number 5.
Right within spec 2, Tony Quinn can now hand over to Jim Richards, and he's completed the amount of laps that he has to under the regulations.
And again, Bowe, again down the inside of Coleman. Will he make it stick this time for third outright? The Budweiser Ferrari winding up through the gears on the Peter Brock straight here at Sandown. John Bowe now in third spot, 107 laps down to Anthony Tratt, our new race leader, 109 laps completed. Okay, Jimmy Richards now in the VIP Pet Foods Porsche. Tony Quinn out of the car. So let's see what's happening, Grant.
Yeah, there's a problem with the left rear. There's a problem getting the wheel nut on. I'm not quite sure what it is. Also, there was something loose under the car, a bit of plastic. It seemed only aerodynamic, so I don't think that'll be a problem. But what is a problem is this wheel nut, because it is just not going on.
Oh,
Tony Quinn is basically visibly upset, is I think the best way to describe it.
Oh, this is shades of last year too, Grant, when they were leading in this car.
Well, they now have it back on, and Jim Richards is off, and if anyone can make up the time, I guess it's Richards. But I tell you what, that's just an absolute tragedy for this team. They've done so well. Tony Quinn did such a good job of driving the car throughout that stint under a lot of pressure on Tratt. But I guess there's another hour or so to go to see what the end result will be.
Yes, in fact, just on probably just over an hour for the final laps of this race to be run. Another 51 laps to go. And now Jimmy Richards. Again, cold tyres, runs off, wraps up Coleman, goes past him and loses it again. Damien White just jumping back into commentary, and I guess an event like this in pit lane, Damien, when you're doing it so comfortably, really does rattle a team all round.
The whole team, and when you see someone like Jim Richards, who's been obviously affected by that, to go out and sort of spear off the track on the third corner, it's obviously affected him hugely too. It is a tragedy, as Grant said, for Tony Quinn.
Well, with just Tony Quinn in pit lane is Ali.
Tony Quinn, just a look on your face. You're all right, you're Mr. Smiley Man, aren't you? Just what was the obstacles there in that pit stop?
They've taken off the wheel nut and put it cross-threaded, I think, on the way back on.
You look disappointed. You've got to be disappointed.
I am very disappointed. 2 years in a row, we've been well in the lead, and that was good. It was well thought out, well planned. We'll see how we go anyway. We might still win.
The only consolation, you got the best pilot doing the job out there for you.
Yeah. I'll leave it to the master now. Yeah.
Thanks,
I'll go and have a sandwich.
Okay.
So this is now Jimmy Richards chasing down Matt Coleman in the Falcon Tyres Porsche. And John Bowe, of course, now in third spot in the 888 Ferrari. And you'll probably find that Matt Coleman may well make it as easy as he possibly can for Jimmy to go through. Well, maybe not, given he's 2 laps down.
You know that, I know that. It's just Matty doesn't know that. Come down into Dandenong turn. You see Richards closing up right under brakes. I don't think he's going to have much choice in about a turn or so. Jim looks straight up the inside. Hopefully Coleman's seen him. Oh, gives him a bit of a squeeze too.
Yeah. Considering he's 2 laps down, and of 113 laps to the 161 laps to the Paul Wright Sandown 500. So Jimmy Richards now on a real charge. He's got to chase down Anthony Tratt, Paul Stokel in the Lamborghini. And of course, Tratt still has to make a pit stop and hand over the car to Stokel. Grant?
Well, just to prove that some people never give up, Steve Knight and Andrew Tamplin, car 23, that's a Mitsubishi Evo 6, have spent 1 hour and 2 minutes in the pits and just rejoined the race.
Well, that's dedication for you, isn't it?
Never say die.
They're getting ready for the 24-hour race, and when I did that in Germany in 1998, we were out for 3 hours, and I tell you, it's just a matter of the accomplishment of finishing. If you know you're not going to win, just to finish is a big accomplishment.
Okay, guys, let's look at the gap between first and second on the road. Jimmy Richards, 24 seconds now behind race leader Anthony Tratt. So it still can be done, Damien, with so many laps still to run, just on 50 laps.
Well, I don't want to put the mockers on the Lamborghini team, but we remember last year they had a front suspension failure, and the reliability of the car, you'd have to say, is not as good as that of the Porsches. So certainly Richards and Quinn haven't given up, but it's just a great shame that they've been handicapped as they have been.
And I think the other thing that you have to remember is that while we look at the race score of Stokel, Quinn, Bowe, Fitzgerald, Churl and Newman, you've got to remember that Jimmy Richards should well be the fastest man on the track. He was the fastest Porsche in the dry practice. He was the fastest in the early stages of today's race when he led it. And
well, as you say that, Craig, he's just gone across the line. Everyone's circulating in the mid-16s, and Jim Richards has just done a 1 minute 15.0, so almost in the 14s. You're absolutely right. And now problems, as we said, the gearbox in the Lamborghini.
Anthony Tratt looking quite worried and quite anxious down at the 5-speed H-pattern gearbox lever. So does the Lamborghini have a problem?
He's making his way down into Dandenong turn at the moment. Let's watch the gear change.
Slow gear change.
Turns it in, and the car, well, he's certainly not standing on the gas, is he, gentlemen?
Just trying to listen to the sound of the car there. I mean, he's certainly got a worried look in his eye.
Short shifts.
I'll have to wait and see if he comes in, but I said I didn't want to put the mockers on them. Maybe I have. And if I have, I feel terrible.
Well, he's staying out. There has to be he has to do at least 3 more laps before he can safely come in to pit lane and hand it over to Paul Stokel to finish the race. So maybe there is a problem and he's just limping around for 3 more laps.
Oh, again, the Smith Cooper Boatwright Porsche, again in trouble at the end of turn 1.
But they've stuck with it, Craig. They've taken all the obstacles before them and just kept out there as we see one of the Ferraris down in pit lane.
Ali?
Yeah, Sam Newman almost casual as he strolls his way to his final stint in his Ferrari this afternoon. It's almost laughable, isn't it, really? I guess for these guys, it's just a case of getting out there and maintaining position. Scott Shearman, not really used to driving this sort of car at all. We usually see him in Nations Cup in a Porsche, but he's done a good job. Not quite pole where they started, but I think they should be happy this afternoon.
So Sam Newman getting in for the final stint in the Budweiser Ferrari from pole position to still circulating in the top 6 in car 17. Second in the Group 2 of Nations Cup, the Paul Morris, John Tulin Spec 360 Challengers leading that class.
But Craig, look at Jim Richards, a 1 minute 14.6. He's circulating a lot quicker than anyone else.
Mark Braham, our GT Performance class leader, also now in the pits. Grant.
Problems for these guys down here at the moment. He was unable to get out of the car. There's a problem with the seatbelt. So this is a great shame for these guys because they are leading the GT Performance category. And it's going to be very tight as they exit pit lane as to where the current 2 second and third place cars, the 2 Evos, will be as they run down. I think they may just be able to hold out first place though.
Oh, and a good battle too further back in the field between Graham Alexander and Mark King. In fact, it's Jeff Full and John Woodbury. And this is the battle for the class lead, folks, in GT Performance now. So John Woodbury, who won last year's 2-hour showroom showdown with Graham Alexander in this very car, now under a lot of pressure from Jeff Full.
Huge amount of pressure, and he got a huge amount of air underneath the inside wheels as he bounced off the ripple strip to defend the corner. But Full, as we've seen in the championship this year, he won't hold back. He's not afraid to bend panels and swap paint, is he?
Yeah, now damage to the rear end of the Alexander Woodbury car and damage to the front of the King Full Evo 6. So one would suggest one's hit the other.
Well,
could all be.
Obviously.
Surmising as we see that.
It's yellow paint. It's got to be Jeff Full.
Dragging.
And Anthony Tratt, the Lamborghini, in pit lane. Ali.
Well, I guess for Paul, he told me the knee's holding up okay after he less than gracefully got out of the car in the last pit stop with Anthony. The foot, though, is giving him some drama at the moment. He reckons it's black and blue. They were thinking about bleeding it, can you believe it, during his stint out of the car. But for now, Team Lamborghini on their way out for what will be the last stint for Paul Stoffel.
Now Jim Richards and John Bowe side by side, and the Porsche GT3 Super Cup car goes through up the back straight here at Sandown Raceway. So John Bowe graciously moves over, lets Jimmy Richards past, and of course Jim now effectively 1 lap off the race lead by virtue of that long pit stop. So now Paul Stoffel continues to lead the full-right Sandown 500 from the Jim Richards Tony Quinn Porsche, 31 seconds and 1 lap down. Then John Bowe, Peter Fitzgerald, John Tulin, Sam Newman, Graham Alexander, King, Pulver, Young, Gilbert and Peters inside the top 12. The Trevor Haynes Tickford Falcon, Alford's car in 14th from Cave Smith. Phillip, the first of the production car class cars from the Andrew Haberfield Clark Quinn Honda Integra Type R.
Interesting that gap has come down to 30 seconds as we go back down to the pits. The TE50 down there, the Yamaha sponsored magnificent looking Ford. Trevor Haynes has been contesting right throughout the season. A few problems here today, but they're still continuing to circulate. Haynes, Hughes and Aitken piloting that vehicle this weekend.
1:14.3 for Jimmy Richards, so he's almost, in fact, he's over 2 seconds a lap quicker than Paul Stoffel. Down to 24 seconds. John Bowe in the second 360 GT, back there in third spot. 1 lap down, in fact 2 laps off the race lead. Brad, tell us about the Ferrari. What's it like to drive?
Yeah, it's a fantastic little car to drive. It took me a little while to get used to the parity and the adjustments that you make in this particular class, because I found it amazing that with the Ferrari you get onto the straight and you're struggling to get by a Lancer, but unbelievable around the corners and under brakes.
Just showed you the gap between first and second, and this is Jimmy Richards on a charge in second spot in the VIP Pit Foods Porsche, threading his way through the slower traffic. Compared to a V8 supercar, Brad, I mean, totally different kettle of fish to drive, but...
Very different. It's probably closer to a super touring car than it is to a V8 supercar. And yeah, it's just taken me a little while to get used to the ins and outs. We've got Fitzy's car in here at the moment.
Yeah, Fitzy's in with Matty Coleman. Grant, what's happening?
Yeah, pretty slick stop so far, guys. One problem that may occur as they go to exit here is that Darcy Russell's Viper's parked very close and quite wide. So interesting to see if the turning circle will allow him to get out cleanly.
So the Falcon Tyres Porsche off the jacks now. And with Peter Fitzgerald back behind the wheel, stalls it on the way out, and now he's away.
Watching Peter Fitzgerald sitting down in 4th position at the moment, making his way up the back straight we call Nations Cup, up towards the top of the hill of Hippies. The car still continuing to circulate. Fitzgerald has had an up and down sort of a season, has always been up there in the top dozen or so cars, but we're used to seeing him a little bit higher up. At the moment he is driving this car really well, still riding the ripple strip, still pushing pretty hard, 1:18 the previous lap, but still Jim Richards 1:14.5, half a second quicker than Paul Stokel, gap 19.2 seconds. Fitzgerald making his way onto the main straight, clock up another lap. This time around he'll come down and complete 128 laps. Oh, drama's down in Holden Turn by the look of that. Yep, certainly is. The first turn, either they've had it coming together or they've outbraked themselves big time.
Car 66, it's the Clark Quinn, Clark Quinn, Andrew Haberfield, Mike Kilpatrick car, and it's Quinn behind the wheel at the moment. Now remember, his father is co-driving Jimmy Richards' Porsche, so let's see what happens under Holden Bridge, and lapping one of the slower cars, gets squeezed, 2 wheels on the ripple strip, they both go off. In fact, it's Gary Deans in the Century Battery Subaru and Clark Quinn, so it really was no fault of his, he just wasn't seen.
And I think he's got the reason why he's parked to the side. There's another replay of it. Oh, that was kind of big. Both cars getting airborne. Look at the steering wheel. Look at the direction the wheels are pointed. You can't see the steering wheel, of course, but the front wheels, one of them, the left-hand side wheel, is pointed off into no man's land, so maybe he's broke the steering.
Well, bad luck for Clark Quinn, because he was doing such a tremendous job, and that's Gary Dean, who's on screen at the moment, the guy that he just hit in the Century Battery Subaru. Now, Dean is still going, so unfortunately Quinn has stopped, and he was doing a great job too. In fact, he was running second in the class. Second, so after 131 laps, Clark Quinn in car 66 is in all sorts of trouble. And of course now, the safety car, the Monaro safety car, back on track.
What a fantastic script. Safety car now coming out onto the track and picking up our race leader, Paul Stokel. Well, Jim Richards will be able to close up. There'll be some lap traffic between them, the two, but after 132 laps, it looks like it's going to come down to be a sprint to the checkered flag. You couldn't have written a better race finish than this year's Sandown 500, proudly brought to you by Poolride.
I mean, I could be cynical. I could say that Tony Quinn has walked up to his son, Clark, talked to him on the radio and said, listen, we need a safety car. Can you help me? What can you do about it? No, I'm sure that wouldn't happen.
Yeah, Fitzy's guys coming in and just throwing a bit of fuel on. I think they're trying to also at the same time, in fact, I think they're only trying now to fix the fuel problem with the dry brake system. And as you guys were talking about before, if it's a seal or something like that, sorry, I had to run to get out of the way there. If it's a seal, it was going to be a problem, but it seems like they've got it to seal off again now.
Okay, well, they're still sitting in 4th spot, the Falcon Tyres Porsche, car number 3. John Bowe ahead of them on the road. So now with the last 20-odd so laps of this race to go, I don't think Peter Fitzgerald can really hope to get on the podium unless John Bowe has a problem. So, lights off on the safety car. We'll get a start this time around. Paul Stokel and Jimmy Richards. And Richards, of course, not right on the tail of Stokel, but he'll work his way through the field. We're under green again. This is the Poolride Sandown 500. Paul Stokel unleashes the V12 Lamborghini. Jimmy Richards well back in the traffic. Can't pass anybody before the start-finish line. Now winds it up in the VIP Pet Foods Porsche. Tony Quinn, you're his co-driver. You own the car.
Go,
nervous
Jimmy.
Are you?
Go, Jimmy.
Stop chewing the fingernails and start talking, my boy.
He's doing a great job.
What was the feeling like in the pits, Tony, when you had that awesomely long pit stop due to the rear thread not being got properly?
Oh, it was crazy. I mean, what made it worse was I actually saw the nut on the wheel start squint, and I screamed to Macca that it's not right, and he tried to fix it, but he kept on screwing it on with a gun, and I wasn't pleased at all.
So you had such a great trouble-free weekend this weekend, pretty much like last year, actually, where Jimmy started from pole position last year, and you'd made your last stop, run towards the flag. The guys on the road ahead of you had to make a stop. Gear linkage broke up the back straight, and I suppose it all came back to you this time around.
Yeah.
No, not shades of last year again.
Yeah, I think that our advantage with the Lamborghini is under brakes. I think we can go into the corners deeper and get out of them quicker. But he seems to have the legs in the straights.
Interesting when you watch the lap times. I mean, there really isn't a lot in it. There's probably a couple of tenths, and traffic, of course, plays a major part into this. But
he's got a huge lead now, so I mean, he just needs to get through that traffic.
Mate, it was 20 seconds before the safety
I know.
car. Now,
No, I'm not complaining.
Yeah, someone cynical could have suggested that you actually wandered down to pit lane, said to someone on the radio, to your son, Clark Quinn, that perhaps what we need, boy, is a safety car period, and there's a bonus at the end of the day. But that wouldn't happen.
I'm just really... Clark's done really well, and I'm most impressed with him. I haven't seen what happened, but maybe I'll be less impressed when I see what's happened. But I think that's Jimmy behind Stokel now, is it?
So 6.5 seconds now, the gap between Paul Stokel and Jimmy Richards. The lap times
pressure's on.
Are going to be very, very interesting over the next few laps. And again, car 8 is in trouble. That's the Quinn Cooper Boatwright Porsche for about the 5th or 6th time today. Yeah. It's pirouetted around. And I don't know what the problem with the car is. I know they've had brake problems all weekend. I'd suggest they're perhaps continuing, along with other things. Wayne Cooper behind the wheel at the moment. Let's have a look, Tony. Watch this. Your boy's the white car on the inside.
Oh, what a good move.
Well, he did very, very well to actually try and stay out of trouble. Gary Dean just turned in on him. Obviously, Gary didn't see him, and the Subaru is motoring around in 4th gear. So, but I think Clark did a tremendous job. Great reflexes to get the car up on 2 wheels, but unfortunately, racing incident.
Well done.
What's going to happen to the weekly allowance now, Tony?
Oh, I think he's in overdraft as we speak. Anyway, from when he was about 11 years old, he's been in overdraft.
It doesn't change, mate, let me tell you.
He said to say hello to you. He's at the airport.
Paul Stokel in the Crazy John's Lamborghini, number 4 of 30 built worldwide by Lamborghini for the Super Cup Trophy. 6 litres, 600 horsepower, 5-speed gearbox, big brakes, and this is the master. Jimmy Richards, who's only won the Sandown 500 twice, in fact in 85 and 89. And again, car 19, the Trevor Haynes, Bob Hughes, Ed Aitken, Tickford Yamaha, having a spin under the Dunlop Bridge. Any instructions to Jimmy, Tony?
Well, I think that, what have we got left?
37 laps of 161, so effectively 23 laps.
Yeah, I think Jimmy will be pacing himself. And
so look at the replay. This is the TE3 Tickford.
He's given a bit of a hand there.
I think he actually got turned around by Jeff Full in car 34. Jeff wouldn't do that. He hasn't done that before this year, has he?
He must have missed the brake pedal.
Maybe once or twice, I recall. Yes. So Jeff Full sharing the car with Mark King has turned it around.
Over the back straight goes the Lamborghini. We've been watching Paul Stokel at work behind the wheel of the car. Still looks to be all within the boundaries of himself. He doesn't seem to be pushing himself. It's a magnificent run up this back straight. Look at the speed he's at.
4.4 tenths of a second now. So again, last time around, another tenth out of it. 1:14.5 for Stokel, a 1:14.4 for Jimmy, 1:15.9 for Bauer back in 3rd spot. So it's really Paul and Jimmy that are the class of the field. Threading his way through the slower traffic, takes Jeff Full, the Evo 7. Now coming up behind Michael Brock's Evo 5. As he runs onto the Peter Brock straight, this glorious sound. Let's have a listen through the gears. Hard on the brakes now. And again, he's lost another, in fact, he's lost, 4 tenths of a second that time around. So Jim Richards now 3.9 tenths of a second off the race lead.
That lap cost him.
Yeah, must have caught up with some slower traffic, so Jimmy Richards has fallen back. The gap's still only 3 seconds, though, 3.7 tenths. Paul Stokel a 1:14.3, Jimmy a 1:15.3, so it was 1 second in it.
It's like sitting in a hospital ward with an expectant father, isn't it, Craig? I thought you would have been accustomed to this sort of activity.
15 laps to go once they cross the start-finish line this time around. But Tony, big year for you. You've made a huge commitment to motorsport with your backing, obviously, of your car. You'd be pleased to know that the VIP Pet Foods Brute was the first forward home today, if nothing else. And your big commitment next weekend, the VIP Pet Foods Queensland 500. You're having a drive yourself. Well done.
Yeah, it was huge for us last year as far as exposure went, and this year I think it's going to be 100% better.
So Anthony Tratt, you did a tremendous job in your stint out there. What's your message for Paul? Just to keep the boot into it, eh? Keep Jimmy behind you.
Well, mate, Paul's driven this car for 2 years now, the Diablos. He knows the car very, very well. He's very professional, and as I said earlier, he takes his racing very seriously. I'm sure he'll just cruise around now for the rest of the race, maintain that lap time that he's doing, I hope. And by the end of the day, maybe Richo might ease off a little bit.
Well, I love your optimism.
Yeah, mate, I wish I had one. I wish the V8 supercar actually overtook cars as quick as what this does.
There's the gap, start-finish line. So it was 2.9 tenths of a second. What is it now? In fact, it's maintained pretty much the status quo. So Jimmy Richards didn't really take too much of an advantage of it that time around.
Yeah, it's fluctuating around that 2 and 3 second mark. And Stokel, you can see now, he put the power of the car down and the back started to get a bit dancy. So he's still well and truly on it.
There's one Achilles heel with this car. It's actually the rear tyres. They'll go away towards the end of this, towards the end of the race here, and Paul will have to nurse the car.
This is the race leader in the GT production car class, James Phillip, the sensational little Honda 2000, 17th outright, leading its class and doing a tremendous job too from Keane, the Haberfield, Quinn, of course Honda Integra that was taken out earlier today back on the track, Mike Kilpatrick also in that car as well, and then Dunkley and Poulton running out the rest of the production car class. Of course Poulton pulling out quite early into the race with mechanical problems in the Mitsubishi FTO.
Race win. A class win all means the same to the competitors. They walk away knowing that they were the best out there. Stokel 1:14.5 that time around, waiting for Richards to cross the line. 1:14.0, so 2.4 seconds the gap.
And 10 laps to go in the Poolright Sandown 500 for 2002. Jimmy Richards 2.4 seconds now off the race lead. Into the last 10 of this fabulous race. Tremendous history, 35 years of it here at Sandown International Raceway in Melbourne. Peter Brock, 9-time winner, 7 in a row from 75 to 81. Alan Moffat, a 6-time winner. George Fury, of all things, a 3-time winner. John Bowe, 3 times, 94, 95. And of course, last year, problems for the Cave Green Turner Nissan 200 SX Spec R2. Larry Perkins, a 3-time winner. Van Seaton, Jimmy Richards, Dick Johnson, twice winners of the Sandown 500.
Jim Richards on screen. It was Michael Turner at the helm of that car up in Poolright Turn that beached itself right up there on the ripple strip. Watching Jim Richards coming down through Dandenong Turn to make his way underneath Dunlop Bridge to come across and complete another lap. Stokel still holding a reasonably good lead with 10 laps to go. What do you reckon, Craig, with your opinion? Do you think he can do it?
Oh, look, I don't think you ever could discount Jimmy Richards in any situation. I think the question is will the tyres perhaps hanging on the Lamborghini, Anthony? I mean, Pirelli tyres, the car's a heavy car. We know on some tracks it's hard to keep the tyre wear on the Lamborghini to the point where you can drive it consistently fast lap after lap. You can see how hard Jimmy Richards pushing, just slightly offline, almost missed the apex, so we know there's no more in it from the Jim Richards Porsche.
By the look of this, we might end up with a safety car out here. That's the last thing that we really need. Jim's car is sliding all over the place, there's no question of that, and I think Paul would, at this stage in the race, would be nursing the rear tyres on the Lambo. Saying that, though, that time of a 14.3 is very, very fast in this stage of the race.
So Michael Turner in car 222 that's beached it there. The car is sharing with Len Cave and Peter Green as Stokel forced to run the outside of the QBE Porsche of John Smith. Luckily, they've been able to push Turner's Nissan off onto the green stuff, so no safety car. 153 laps of 161, 2.4 seconds the difference between first and second, and of course John Bowe back there in third spot, but unfortunately a lap down in the 888 Budweiser Ferrari.
Just watching the Viper make its way up the main straight. Right behind that there is a gaggle of cars all fighting for position. You can see them right now, and right with the headlights on in the background, 4 or 5 cars back is the Lamborghini Diablo, and then Jim Richards sitting right behind him, so lap traffic going to come into play as they all battle for their positions, and Paul Stokel and Jim Richards try and carve their way through.
Let's have a look at it now, folks. 1.4 tenths of a second. So again, Jimmy Richards has taken one clean second out of Paul Stokel's race lead. 154 laps down, 7 laps to go. And every lap, inch by inch, Jimmy Richards just takes that little more of your race lead, Anthony Tratt.
Mate, I wish that guy would just get out and back off.
You're going to go out and hit him in a minute, aren't you?
Mate, Richo, once he's got his teeth into something, that's it, he's on it. And he's obviously on fire right now. Doing lap times like that is just simply amazing. That's really good. He's obviously got caught in traffic on that last one with the previous lap, was amazing.
Running with Stokel now, over the back here at Sandown, down through this downhill run. Car becomes light through here, absolutely spot on. The importance of the line, hard brake for Dandenong Road corner, through here in second or third, second gear?
Second gear in the Lambo, yeah, third, fourth, back to second.
And Tony Quinn.
There he is, starting the pacing.
He's actually started to eat the pet food now.
Smile, Tony, it's not that bad. Onto the main straight comes Jim Richards. You're on board with him now. 6 laps left to go in this one. 156 laps completed. 5 laps, 161. The total race distance, the previous lap, a 1:14.25, a 1:14.42 for Richards over Stokel.
Yeah, well, Paul's been able to respond, so there still must be a tad left in the Lamborghini.
And I'll tell you what, there wouldn't be too much left in it. He'd be hanging on by his fingernails at the moment.
Oh, there's been a spinner. Oh, no, sorry, that's the earlier car that went off.
Michael Turner's car parked off to the side. It looked like they were going to try and move it completely behind the barrier, but obviously there wasn't room there to do that as we ride with Jim Richards.
Let's have a listen to this Porsche GT3 Super Cup car, up to 8,000 RPM through the 6-speed gearbox. Hard on the brakes here.
Quite amazing, these Porsches. I raced Porsches for 5 years, and these later model cars are just jets. They really are. I was watching Jimmy at the start of the race. The gap that he got on Paul and the rest of the guys the first 3 laps was out of this world. You just can't do that.
Yeah, they absolutely. I mean, when you consider that within 30 laps, he had actually lapped Peter Fitzgerald, who was running third. Yeah. Just it's an amazing story.
That is. The cars are identical.
Absolutely. The driver, both drivers have been driving Porsches all their life. Fitzy's certainly a quick driver. 1.7 tenths of a second. So again, Stokel has responded. A 1:14.3 for Stokel, a 1:14.4 for Richards. So Paul Stokel, 156 laps. 5 laps to go in the pool right Sandown 500, and a very, very nervous Tony Quinn.
Look at the look on his face. You can just tell straight away that he's biting his nails off at the moment. He's wishing, he's praying, and Jim just getting a little bit ragged.
Yeah, you can see how hard Jimmy Richards is pushing now. The car's starting to look untied. He's starting to get offline, starting to miss the apexes, running widing on the ripple strips.
Good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Stokel over the top of the hill, starts to run back down. Nice clean run up the back straight there too. Picked up a few cars that were a bit slower than he. Looks like there's one out in front at the moment. Yeah, the Century Batteries car.
Didn't slow him down.
I don't think much slows him down, to be truthful.
I think Richo got the worst part of that lot there. He's he looked a little bit further back coming into that corner.
Is that fact or wishful thinking? One of the two. A bit of everything.
Oh, and look at the master at work. Look at the intense concentration. Doesn't this look sensational? Jimmy Richards, big deep breath, settles down into the seat. Hard on the straight now, 3.1 tenths of a second. The gap between first and second now. So again, Stokel has responded to 1:14.2, then a 1:15.6. And the eyes at work in Paul Stokel under an enormous amount of pressure. But great credentials, this man. Anthony, I mean, 3-time Australian Drivers' Championship winner. He's driven V8 supercars. He's driven all sorts of cars in his career. Done a tremendous job in this Lamborghini.
Yeah, absolutely. He's the 3 gold stars. I think are a real credit to him. He's you don't get those for being any slouch behind the wheel. Is that a noise I can hear in Jim's car? I hope so. Is that a gearbox noise?
A bit of a clunk you can hear there, is it? Might be the keys.
Just look at the wheel work.
Knowing Richard, that probably is the closest thing to standard as you get anyway, straight off the showroom.
Oh, I mean, he's absolutely on it, isn't he? Just watch the intense concentration. Watch the wheel work, how he's just feeding it in. Unfazed, totally cool, not a bead of sweat. Really annoys you, doesn't it, Anthony?
It does. It's terrible to watch. And then just watching the steering wheel work there as he's in a couple of corners. The car seems to be understeering a little bit more than it was in the previous in-car shot.
3 laps to go. 3 laps to go between Paul Stokel and Jim Richards, and the gap still 2.8 tenths of a second. So Stokel a 1:14.3, Richards last time a 1:14 flat, so he's taken 3 tenths of a second out of him. 159 laps of this pool ride, Sandown 500, and what a corker of a finish. Paul Stokel still leads from Jim Richards and Tony Quinn. John Bowe 1 lap down in the Ferrari. Peter Fitzgerald 3 laps down in the Falcon Tyres Porsche he's sharing with Matty Coleman, the Chilton Morris Ferrari, and Sam Newman. A good drive, a good consistent drive for him and Scott Shearman to be inside the top 6 in the Group 2 Nations Cup Ferrari. Yeah, he's done a tremendous job, Stokel. Hasn't put a foot wrong, hasn't taken the car offline. He's got his eyes on, as you can see, the wideness of his eyes, intensely focused on the job at hand, and that's to keep the 6-time Bathurst winner, twice Sandown 500 winner, Jimmy Richards behind him. Paul Stokel has not won a Sandown 500. He was leading last year. In fact, he had a lap on the rest of the field last year when the front suspension broke on this car when it was being driven by his co-driver, Stephen Johnson, coming onto the back straight, which unfortunately forced their retirement. But hasn't he bounced back this weekend?
Oh, he certainly has. It's been a great performance. I mean, these are such difficult races. So many things can go wrong, and most often usually do. And to be able to be in a commanding position, Paul Stokel's in at the moment, is a great performance by him. Jim Richards, well, 3.2 seconds, the gap, the final lap about to come up. It's all over bar the shouting, you'd have to assume.
Yes, last lap now. Lap 160 for Paul Stokel, and there's Andrew Smith and James Smith, his father, owners of T Lamborghini that own this car, run this team, as Paul Stokel on his final lap has actually edged out the gap to over 3 seconds from Jimmy Richards. Now Richards comes through in the VIP Pet Foods Porsche. So Richards and Stokel will battle it out right to the flag. John Bowe out of the show, 1 lap down. The 888 Budweiser Ferrari. Will Hagan back in commentary with hopefully a tad of voice to help us through the last lap, Will.
Yeah, thanks very much. You know, the closest margin in victory previously was 3.06 seconds. The lead over that last lap over the finishing line was 3.15 seconds, so it's almost identical to last year. The other thing is, if Jim Richards had got to the lead, it would have been the first time he'd seen the checkered flag. He's won it twice. He's never been in the car and taken the flag.
And never started from pole position to go on to win either. So Paul Stokel on his final lap. Tremendous
But haven't
drive.
they done a good job? A most unlikely car, truthfully, to win a long-distance endurance race.
Yep.
And it failed last year. They've got a different spec car. It's on the straight now.
And there you go. Paul Stokel takes the win in the Crazy Johns Lamborghini Diablo GTR. Tremendous drive by 2.9 tenths of a second from Jimmy Richards, and Andrew Smith, James Smith being congratulated by the rest of the Team Lamborghini crew. And Paul Stokel, you've just written your name into the record books of Australian motorsport. You're up against there with some of the greats.
And indeed, and the closest ever finish in 35 years.
Okay.
Sandown 500.
Down to pit lane, Team Lamborghini. Ali, what's happening?
Well, I tell you what, boys, they said they were going to promise something special, and here we go right now. If we can get in on these guys, they usually do the Lamba Samba to celebrate, but this looks new. This looks like the Lamba Can from what I can gather.
It's more like line dancing to me.
It sure, oh, there we go. There's the Lamba Samba there, just for old time's sake. They're crazy guys. They're a small team, but they're a tight team, and they're absolutely wrapped that Paul Stokel has taken out Sandown 500.
Yeah, and I'm glad the race finished before 4, because all the teams have to, the Crazy Johns team actually have to be back in their home by 5. They only let them out for the day. Paul Stokel, congratulations, winner of the Pool Ride Sandown 500, and well driven too to Anthony Tratt, his co-driver, who did a tremendous job to keep it all straight. And Jimmy Richards, well done. Second outright in the VIP Pet Foods Porsche with Ali Drower is his co-driver, Tony Quinn.
Yeah, this would be Tony Quinn with Grant Kenny. But anyway, Tony, a fantastic day. I guess not the result you wanted, but certainly a lot better than last year.
No, it's an improvement. So next year, here we go. But it was a great race, I guess. You know, at the end of the day, Lamborghini did well, and Jimmy did exceptionally well.
I guess at the end of a day like this, you look back, and I think if we watched the laps on the track, there was almost perfection, both for yourself and certainly for Jim. There was an issue in the pits, and I guess in endurance racing, it just goes to highlight how important the whole team are to the result.
Without a doubt, and practice, I think. Yeah. Next time.
Absolutely. There's always next year. Tony, congratulations to you and the VIP team. It was a great effort.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, a winner in business and a winner in sport certainly wants to be a winner in sport, and you can't help but see the disappointment in Tony Quinn's face. Ali?
With me, I've got an ecstatic Julie Stokel. How were those last few laps?
Oh, I can't breathe.
You can't breathe. You got to breathe. Okay, in, out. I mean, what do you think? How do you think the adrenaline was pumping through his veins?
Oh, just amazing. I mean, the guys, you know, they've had so many hitches with the car and everything in recent months, and the build up to this, it's been a last minute. Oh, okay, the car's doing what it's meant to be doing now, and oh, it's just so good to see it all come together for them. They just so deserve it, and
yeah.
Oh, good on him.
Yeah,
well
good
done,
on
darling.
I just gave it everything for the last 20 laps, I think it was, and yeah, the car survived, I survived, and we managed to stay in front.
At the end of the day and at the end of a race like that, and it's 161 laps, it is a long day. It's very much a team effort. How did it come together for you? We saw obviously what was going on track. What about off track?
It's been a tough one. We've had anything that could have gone wrong went wrong before the lead up to this, even down to me getting a black toenail the other day, but we've seemed to come through it all, and I said, well, all the bad stuff's gone now. It only gets better from here, and it can't get any better than this.
There they are, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, a big round of applause. Anthony Tratt and Paul Stokel.